Hello everybody, my name is Mark Sage and welcome to the latest in a number of area webinars. We'll be looking at reinventing intelligence and planning using AR and defense. You can move to the next slide, please. Very quick introduction about the area. I know some of you will already know, but the area stands for AR for Enterprise Alliance. We are a global membership funded not-for-profit alliance, and we're really there to help the whole parts of the ecosystem accelerate the adoption of enterprise AR. And we're doing that by delivering a number of different activities, webinars being one of them. Next slide, please. Just to give you an idea of the membership, we're in 3 different segments. We have the enterprises that are deploying technology. We have a bigger group of the providers of the technology that's broken down between hardware and software and kind of consultancy services and everything in between. And then the third group are a combination of non-commercial organizations, so government agencies, research institutes, universities, and standards organizations. And bringing all of that experience and knowledge and ability to learn is a really important part of what the area offers as benefits of membership. Next slide, please. So just to go into a little bit detail, we have our 4 strategic pillars. The first one is about delivering thought leadership, the kind of information that business decision makers need to help them decide and invest in augmented reality. Webinars is one example of that, but we do lots of other activities ranging from blog articles to fireside chats to podcasts, also speaking at events, and anything we can do to get that information out there. The next pillar is around networking. It's about bringing the ecosystem together, about learning from each other, sharing those experiences, building those partnerships. And we find that there's lots of really useful information and knowledge that gets shared between the area members. The third is around educate, and what I like to call closing the AR skills gap. Lots of our members still trying to find or working with the next set of people coming into the industry. So we want to help that by working with educational organizations to define what an AR course would look like, to offer our members as guest lecturers, to kind of help organize outplacements and set the university's challenges. And then the 4th pillar is around reducing barriers to adoption. We have a number of committees that meet on a monthly basis that look in some of the business challenges, so things like security, safety, requirements, human factors, and research as well. Next slide, please. I've mentioned that we've done a number of webinars, in fact, over 40. And this is a great example of one of our area members doing some really interesting and useful stuff. But please feel free to go and have a look at the other area members. They're on the area website, the area.org, under area resources and videos. And there's a whole range of useful information there. You can also go to the area YouTube channel. Next slide. And just on that theme, we have 3 more webinars that are going to be happening leading up to the end of 2021. Again, one interesting one for companies looking for investment. There's an M&A bank who's been very interested in the AR space and created some reports. So we're going to be explaining that and the best way of potentially securing investment. Another one of the area members talking about some of the work that they've done. And then finally, one of the non-commercial organizations and a consortium looking at some really interesting work that they're doing to help the ecosystem. Anyway, next slide, please, Gonçalo. Enough from me. I'd like to introduce and hand over to Gonçalo from Masters of Pi. I'm sure he'll introduce himself a little bit more, but I'm looking forward to listening to what is a really exciting and interesting area. So over to you, Gonçalo. I know you need to swap over the slides.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gonçalo Antunes. I'm the marketing lead for XR at Masters of Pi. We are a software company based in the UK, for those who don't know us. We deliver XR collaboration solutions for enterprise. And today, we'll be talking about the applications of XR enterprise, or in this case, augmented reality, in the defense industry, and covering some of the use cases that we have been delivering throughout this year. For starters, typically the XR enterprise programs, they fall under these 5 different categories, from design engineering to remote assistance to workforce collaboration, training and knowledge transfer, and data planning and data consolidation and visualization. And I would like to start right now with this one, with data analytics and planning and visualization. Just out of curiosity, the modern mission planning in defense hasn't changed that much for 200 years. So I thought this was a very interesting reference, because what we see here is the actual war plan from the Waterloo Battle in 1815. And for those who might be familiarized with mission planning, you can already see that some of the layers or data information that was documented at the time, it's still used in these days. So the question here is how we went from this type of approach to this type of approach, using augmented reality, data in real time, the data sources, and the ability to interrogate all this type of information. Well, the mission planning process, just to give a quick overview, it's about bringing together commanders and staff to seek optimal solutions and make critical decisions in order to achieve objectives always in a dynamic context. And this is a very important part of the whole process, because when we use the typical physical and paper processes for mission planning, we're always planning in the past. So we don't have access to real-time information to make more timely and better decisions. Of course, not having access to this type of information in real time and contextualized raises potential risks for planning missions. Red flags, the typical red flags in this type of scenarios would be inefficient use of resources, potential loss of lives, and also mission failure. So how can we solve these problems using augmented reality? Well, what we see in the mission problem missions is that they always need to fly in experts to remote locations to deliver these mission planning briefings. So therefore they require physical presence, because they are in remote locations and having limited resources to analyze and to plan the mission. They have what we say, what we call as limited remote assistance. They're not repeatable, meaning that when you're planning various types or very different scenarios, you have to take all these information layers from the table and redo them again. So you're not able to track or to save that information in a specific point in time. They require high levels of resources consumption, logistics, personnel, data intelligence, and the list goes on and on. So they are very sensitive as well, meaning that when someone enters a mission planning room, officers and staff officers, they need to remove all this information from the top of the table. So it's always subject to, and because you have this back and forth, you're always subject to human error. So you might not be able to place your visualization in the exact point they were before. As I mentioned previously, this type of briefings never happen in real time. So you're making predictions and assumptions based on past information. It's not scalable, so you cannot have multiple people and multiple sessions running in the same time, and it's not auditable, meaning that you cannot record these sessions or these mission plannings and analyze by the end of the mission what went wrong, what went well, what could we have done better. Just out of curiosity, a very interesting fun fact that this depends, of course, on the type of mission planning exercise, but there are cases where commanders and staff officers, they need to bring like 100 meters of acetates with additional overlaying data to these missions, and it's because because it's a very data-centric process. Not having this information in real time potentially raises the flag for high costs and other risks. So a way that you can improve mission planning, it's by digitizing the whole process. So the type of information or overlaying layers that you have in this type of use cases comes with a geospatial information coming with maps. You also have overlaying data and intelligence data provided by with terrain overlay, weather and environment information, things like buildings, pipes, water flows, etc. All the relevant information that you can use to assess and make a better decision when you're planning a mission. Your boundary layers as well. So boundary layers here, it's the proposed course of action of a mission. So how are you going to do like an evacuation plan? What are the best or safest routes, etc. And also what in defense organizations we call recognized land picture and recognized maritime and air picture. So these are it's pure intelligence data where staff officers and commanders, they can analyze the exact tracking location of vehicles, ships, and airplanes. In a normal scenario, as I said before, you always have like a snapshot of this information, so you don't have like really these elements moving in time in your bird table, and therefore it's critical to have all these living and live data available in real time, so you can get the full and see the better picture. Going back just here, so the solution or the use case that I'm gonna show you just after this, it's a use case that we have developed this year for the British Army. So we have been tasked with the challenge of reinventing mission planning and how we could digitize this traditional process. So we have developed a digital bird table solution, which I will cover after, but it has three main areas of action. First of all, it's a solution that it's integrated with geospatial data from Esri. So we are able, or the solution is able to pull geospatial data like maps in real time and adjusting those maps according to the needs of the mission planning, and it can be done in real time. On top of this, you're also able to overlay these additional intelligence layers like terrain, environment, weather, and the course of action layers or boundary layers, and also the pure intelligence data from recognized land picture and air and sea. So this part of the intelligence data is provided to the solution by another project that the British Army is running, that it's called Project Hydra, which is all about consolidating these multiple data sources into one database, and be able to pull this information and interrogate this information in real time. So that part of the solution was developed by Atos, and in the full picture, what Masters of Pi brought to the table was the ability to visualize all this information in a spatial context using augmented reality, but also providing a real-time collaboration functionalities to it, meaning that you could have a briefer over giving the briefing, excuse me, the paradox, but but also the staff officers are able to interrogate this data and assess that. So I'm just quickly gonna play a video here. Oh, it's not working. Okay, sorry, it was a technical glitch here, but I'll show you very quickly. So this was demonstrated this year at DSEI, which is one of the largest defense events in the defense industry. As you could see, the table in augmented reality is visualizing, or you're able to visualize all this live information in real time. Not sure if it's really perceptible, but you could see, for instance, the airplanes, the airplane data moving. So you can see these data feeds coming in real time. I think it was every 30 seconds. So we're able to pull this information in real time and give like a full picture of the scenario. So in essence, what AR brings to this solution? Well, first of all, it enables decentralized headquarters. What we mean by this is that you're able to have people in different locations, so you're not required to be in the same physical place to participate and help in the decision-making process of a mission planning. It also brings the integration with incumbent communication tools. So one very important aspect of this solution is that you're able to communicate with analysts in real time, because the bird table allows what we call public data interrogation and private data interrogation. So by public data interrogation, it's when a briefer is highlighting different parts of the scenario in real time. While in private, it gives staff officers the ability to interrogate themselves these data points and having a conversation with a assigned analyst that can proactively and preventively highlight particular points of interest that the staff officers are investigating. So it leverages another very important point that AR brings to this. It leverages existing workflows. So because you're not creating standalone solution. You're embedding AR into existing processes and existing workflows. This leverages all the infrastructure and all the infrastructure and security that is in place, and gives them a special context. It's also flexible, or brings flexibility as well, not only in terms of deployment, but also in terms of data interrogation. In terms of deployment, because defense, it's typically an area or a sector that it's very data sensitive. So the ability to have have this type of deployments that are on premise and also use cloud architectures, it's very important. And the ability and AR being able to pull these multiple data sources or different types of data sources, it's very beneficial. It's temporal, so using augmented reality, you're able to visualize and select the course of time and the course of actions that happened throughout this specific point in time. So you're able to pull information, like to see what was the status of a situation, like 1 hour, 2 hours, 10 hours before. You're also able to see this in real time. So it's very important to have this type of full picture and evolution of events to make better decisions, which leads to the next point, which is using real-time data sources. Again, because you're not because you're actually seeing data in real time, you're not planning in the past, so you can plan using the latest information and make more timely decisions. It's secure. One of the biggest, I think, one of the biggest advantages that augmented reality brings here is the security aspect, in a sense that if you have a device, you're able to see the mission planning process. If you don't have a device, you basically can't see it. So this removes a lot a particular constraint in traditional mission plannings, which is when someone strange comes into the room, you have to basically remove everything from the table and put it back again when it's safe. So AR, it's a very simple and logic benefit, but I think it's very powerful. It's auditable, as I mentioned before. So because you're able to record all your decisions and the whole process, you're able to come back later and understand what went wrong, what went well, what could we have done better. It minimizes human error, because you're automatically pulling these data sources in real time, and they are placed in the right place, and all this metadata all the underlying metadata is associated with that particular map symbol. You're minimizing your human error, and you're bringing clarification all across the board. Another benefit that augmented reality brings to this type of approach, which is something that we haven't actually explored yet in this use case, but it's something that we are really eager and looking forward to explore in the future, is to leverage spatial elements. So it's to actually bring the dimension Z to these bird tables as a starting point, because the planning process, it typically uses 2D maps. It made sense to start with this approach, but taking advantage of a spatial dimension and understanding how actually the terrain is, how can you use that in your favor to make decisions, like imagine creating a proper evacuation plan, having in account the terrain, the elevation, etc. It's going to be very, very, very powerful. And because we are using digital information and digital data, you're also able, or you will be able to use or take advantage of underlying technologies like machine learning and simulation. So because all this information is digitized and it resides in a database, you're able actually, and it's temporal, you're able to see multiple scenarios and potentially use that data and use that outcome to do simulations based on empirical and historical data. And another advantage is that it's device agnostic. So as you probably know, you don't need to have an augmented reality headset to take advantage of this technology. So lower devices like smartphones or tablets, you're able to interact and see see things in a spatial context. So the fact that it's device agnostic also brings down the opportunity cost of a solution like this. So augmented reality, in our opinion, can be more scalable to deliver this type of solutions. But augmented reality doesn't. It also brings benefits, other benefits apart from in defense, apart from mission planning. Defense, it's a very broad term that have a lot of industries or common ground between other industries under the defense umbrella. One of them it's remote assistance. So as you probably would know, the defense organizations are probably one of the largest logistics companies in organizations in the world, and having the ability to have remote assistance, like someone in the office using for instance a CAD model, and having someone on the shop floor doing maintenance after and analyzing parts of an engine, of a vehicle, of an aircraft, and being able to use that contextual data and understand that that part came already from repair, or we need to order that or we need to order additional parts from our suppliers. This brings enormous benefits across the board. And what we see typically when remote assistance use cases are created is that the main business drivers are typically around efficiency, cost savings, and safety. Other technology advancements or benefits that AR is able to bring across the board in defense, it's related with workforce collaboration. The fact that we have nowadays technology enablers like 5G, edge computing, and server-side rendering, which are bringing efficiencies in delivering extended reality to the factory floors. It's something that we also see being applicable in the defense industry. Masters of Pi recently has been working with in a use case about delivering 5G to the on a factory floor. We actually started in this particular project because there were no solutions yet available to test AR, but we started with VR, and we have been working on delivering on helping the handover between manufacturing and design, taking advantage of 5G private networks, server-side running, and edge computing. Which brings me to the last point of this presentation, which is what are the benefits of actually implementing this of implementing augmented reality and these remote assistance use cases on the factory floor. Well, according to PTC, to a study that PTC did I think last year, 275% of the users who have interacted with XR technology felt more confident to act on what they have learned after training. So having the ability to have a remote assist use case, having that is able to transfer that knowledge onto different parts of the organization without having to travel, it's enormous. And people that and employees that have interacted with these use cases, they have clearly have learned faster than compared, or when compared with a traditional classroom training. They feel more connected with the content because it's an immersive experience, and they were more focused and with traditional e-learners. So I would open the forum to any questions.
Thank you very much. I do have one question here. Why is the mission planning AR rather than VR?
Well, the thing is, with we started with AR simply because it requires so the main objective of this type of use cases is that you're actually able to deploy this in remote locations. So the ideal use case, or the ideal scenario where you would have like a mission planning happening would be on site, in the field, and having the ability to have a type of solution that consumes less data, like comparing AR with VR in this case. Just out of curiosity, like if you have a VR application being streamed, you would need to have like something around 90 frames per second to make it seamless, which AR doesn't have that problem, because typically it's a lighter type of solution. But also having the ability to actually see the bird table in spatial context, I think it's more beneficial, in my opinion. That doesn't mean that you could not have like a mission planning developed in VR, but I think in my opinion, having being easier and more scalable to deploy, consumes less data, and actually having the ability to have a table displayed in spatial and in context and blending with the physical world, I think it brings more advantages.
Okay, great. And I'll ask any people on the call, if you've got any questions, please type them into the questions box. Just a question for myself, in terms of the kind of bird table. I can see wearable devices being used, but are they also using kind of tablets and phones to access and view the data as well? Is it a multiple set of different devices?
So the solution has, or we started with two types of devices. So one, it's so the augmented AR glasses. So we have been using HoloLens 2 for the staff officers, but for the briefer, so for the person who is responsible to guide and conduct the mission planning, they can use a touch screen. So the idea about real-time collaboration, or what Masters of Pi brought to the table, it's the visualization and the real-time collaboration aspect between the data sources, the briefer, and the HoloLens users or the staff officers.
Okay, great, thank you. Just wait a second to see if anyone else types any questions in. I guess, and this is a slightly strange answer because it's obviously working, but in terms of connectivity and being out in the field, you mentioned about kind of the 5G network and things like that. Is that something you've been able to deploy in this scenario yet, or is that something still working on?
On the factory floor, it's on factory floors it's something that it's live and running. On military scenarios, it's something that we are still working on, because as you may know, like the connectivity or network connectivity in defense, it's a different type of beast. You have satellites, you have lower bandwidth, higher bandwidth. So it's a mix of network architectures. But the objective is to test this in the field. We have done a small test at the DSEI when we have presented the solution. It was a very heavy data. There was a lot of data consumption throughout the event. Just to give a rough idea, I think there were more than 20,000 people attending the DSEI this year, and the solution there performed quite well. So we are hoping now and looking forward to see if we could take this use case to the field and see how it performs.
Fantastic. Well, looking forward to some feedback and maybe some performance stats, and help us, kind of answer that question that a lot of us have in the AR world about the benefits and the promise of 5G, which is one of the recent area research projects as well. So, okay, I see no other questions. I want to thank you very much for those insights. I will send the presentation and the recording to the attendees, but just like to thank everybody for joining and remind you that there are more area webinars coming up. And yeah, look forward to seeing you on the next one. Gonçalo, thank you very much indeed for your insights, and have a great rest of the day, everybody.
Thank you everyone.
Okay.